This video is on gear. Now, let's go over a little bit of what gear does. So if you click on it, we can see right here as our Helma Mini Eyes, we have a Champion March armor bonus of 8%, a Champion March health bonus of 8%, and a Tzeentch range damage bonus of 18%. Now, if I'm wearing this helmet and I send a march, I only am going to get the Tzeentch range damage bonus unless I send my champion on the march with me. If it says champion march, your champion has to be sent in that march. If it just has a faction, so Tzeentch, any of my Tzeentch units, their range damage will get bonused. Infantry health bonus and infantry armor bonus. If it says infantry, it is solely talking about infantry. It is not referring to monstrous infantry. It would say monstrous infantry on it as well if it was. A good example of that is the boots. Monstrous infantry range damage bonus. So reading what it does will help you know what it's actually going to apply to. So I did 3 tests. My first test, I sent a march completely naked, wearing nothing at all. And in that march, I still defeated them. I sent 10 Seawatts and 150,000 Zanes. And my Zaners did 331,551,000 damage. Okay. Now my second march that I sent, I was wearing this right here. And I did not send my champion. So the buffs I got on this march was a health bonus to my infantry, which would be my Seawatts, so my tank line, and Tzeentch ranged attack bonus. So my Zangs got a little extra 17.5% bonus to their range. I also got an armor bonus, so this helped my Seawatts tank a little more. I did get cavalry melee damage, but I wasn't running any cavalry, so it didn't do anything to me. Also, if there was to be any deaths, this would have saved me 5% of those deaths, so it would have brought my deaths down. But I also got a March combat bonus of 15%. And my Seawatts are Tzeentch based, so this undivided health bonus doesn't help. Now, March combat bonus, that gives you a bonus to ranged attack and damage, melee attack and damage, health, armor, and morale. It gives a 15% buff to all of those things. I was wearing this, which gave me a little bit more range damage on my Zangs. This also gave me a ranged attack bonus. And these boots, they boosted my Zangs because it's monstrous infantry. And that's it, because my Seawatts are not monstrous, they're just regular infantry. So with this armor, now, instead of doing 331 million damage, just in putting on that armor, I'm now doing 473 million damage. So it's a big input because that's overall. Then I sent another march, and on this march, I wore the exact same armor, but I sent my warlords. So I did March combat bonus, and I'll show you what I did. So for this, I did a March capacity with my Lord of Change. I did a Tzeentch range damage, as well as a March combat bonus, and a monstrous infantry ranged attack. So I used these 3 buffs on this march. And that changed from 400 million damage to, they're now doing 691 million damage. So another increase. And then on my final march, I sent the same warlords. I sent the same Seawatts and Zangs amount, but I also sent my champ with this next one. And so when sending my champion, I changed to the Flow of Blinding Hate, so I got more melee damage and more range damage. I also got the March armor bonus, melee damage, and range damage from my helmet. I switched over to my chosen plate body, and that gave me March health, March armor, melee attack, ranged attack, and morale. And the rest stayed the same. This also now gave me melee attack, more ranged, more damage, and range damage, because I am now sending my champion on the march with me. And that march did 761 million damage. So we went from having nothing on, no warlords, dealing 300 million damage, to now dealing 761 million damage. Now, if you're wanting to know, well, what's my DPU, which is damage per unit, that's a good way to tell like how you're doing. What you want to do is you want to take this number right here and divide it by how many you sent. So we're going to take the 761 divided by the 150, which I already did over here. So with nothing on, we were doing 2,210 damage per unit. Then with just some armor on, we were doing 3,156. Added our warlord buffs, we did 4,609. And then sent our champion, we were doing 5,076 damage per Zang to the enemy. Other good benefits of armor is, looking here, right? I have full ritual set armor on. So with 3 pieces, I'm getting an extra 10%. So each one of my pieces, I don't think one of them's upgraded. So this gives me 2%, and the rest give me 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% ritual speed just wearing those. But if I'm wearing 3, I get another 10, so that's 17. 4, another 5, so that's 21, 22. 5, another 5, so that's 27. And then wearing all 6, I get another 5, so that's 31, or 27, 32% ritual speed bonus. However, this gives me 7%, so I'm going to lose 1% and 5%. So I'm getting 1 more percent by wearing my helmet mini eyes. So whenever I'm upgrading writs, I actually do this. So adding the percentages up does help. Now, how percentage bonuses work is everything has a base stat. Let's go to just a Seawatt. So Seawatt has a base stat. A melee damage of 900, melee attack of 21, ranged attack of 17, range damage of 200, armor of 60, health of 1700, right? Morale of 62. So think of morale, and this is kind of the way I've always understood it, but think of morale as like, okay, if 100,000, if I send 100 Seawatts and all 100 are gonna die, by the time 62 of them die, the rest of my Seawatts are like, no, I'm good, I don't want anything to do with this, and then they leave. And now it's going to go to my Zangs. So once this is like over 100, then they usually all stay. Now, so everything has a base. Anything you add to it is added to that base. So it doesn't matter if you put gear on first. It doesn't matter what order you do things. It's all stacked onto the base amount. So like my Zeech morale is what, this one? Nope. My Zeech morale bonus, right? So they already have 64. You add 16, that is 80%. So then if I have another 20% in my gear that I have on, then 100% of my tanks are going to die and none of them are going to break. They're going to be good. That's kind of how morale works. All bonuses and percentages are stacked on the base amount of what you have. So let's say a ritual is going to take, let's say it'd take 100 days. Well, if you're not in spec for it, then you get there, it's already going to take off 40%. So it's going to add 40% to your speed of how the ritual is being done. So I don't know what the base speed amount is, but you do so many points per minute. It's all kind of hidden features within it. So you're not taking off like 40% of the total time. You're taking off like you're adding 40% of how much faster you complete the ritual. Yeah. That's where it kind of gets funky, is on the rituals and stuff. But adding gear, stuff like this, Siege morale bonus, an extra 18%. It's an 18% of that 64. So if there's 64, 18% is 60. You're adding another 11.52 to this. So now instead of 64, it's 75.52. And then let's say you're adding another 10% on top of that. Well, you're going to take 64 times 10% is 6.4. What was our last one? Our last one was 11.52. So 11.52 plus 6.4. Now we're at 17.92. Now let's say you're adding another 20%. So we had the 64 times 20% is 12.8. Well, now we have to add that to our 6.4 and 11.52, which is 17. So plus the 17.92, 30.72 plus 64. Now we're at 94.72 morale. That's kind of how the buffs and everything add up for all of it. So when making your armor presets, you want to see what type of units it is you're using. So when I was doing, like when I'm mass doing 15s, I'm not sending my champion, so I'm not focused on my solo march with my Curse of the Chosen, because it gives me nothing but monster morale, and I don't need that because they're not my tank line. So that's why I'm doing this, because I'm boosting, you know what, I'm going to boost my Slaanesh range damage a little bit, because I have a Slaanesh march. Well, I'm going to go ahead and boost my infantry health, so I take less deaths. And on top of it, I have a Zang march, so I'm getting some ranged attack. Zeech armor bonus. When I'm mass farming and I'm taking losses, I only send Seawatts for tanks. So I always use these because it gives me another armor bonus, so I lose less Seawatts. I always use this because it gives me a March combat bonus, which again applies to everything. And I'm saving on all my deaths. I'm taking less deaths because of this. Same thing for this. I do it for my Zeech range because I don't really have anything better. I guess I could do monstrous infantry range, but it's only 1%, so it wouldn't be too much helpful. So I just kind of use that for now. Boot plates of the Chosen, I will use those because they give me infantry armor bonus. And it also gives me undivided, but since my tank lines are CWATs, I just need it for the infantry. So if I run all this, this is my mass marches where I'm sending out and I'm not using my champ to limit on my deaths. And that way I can solo right now 3 to 4 15s at one time. That's about it for gear that I can think of at the top of my head. Thanks.